My annoying vegan daughter came into the steakhouse I work at and started protesting, so I served her steak for dinner that night. She is also very vocal about how great veganism is and what cruel animal killers my wife and I are. We have tried to talk to her a few times gently about her behavior, but each time she says she just cared about animals. The main argument my daughter and I are having right now is the fact that I work in a steakhouse, and she let me know this was a problem very early on in her vegan journey. I told her I was sorry, but I had been working in that steakhouse for a decade and have built up a very secure job with pretty good financial stability. I also absolutely love steak, and every now and again my job will allow me to bring home a steak at the end of the day for dinner. My daughter has seen me enjoy this steak many times, and it drives her crazy each time. Well, about 2 weeks ago I brought home a steak and was having it with dinner, and my daughter, upon seeing it, said the next time I do this she will boycott the restaurant. I laughed thinking it was a joke, but she went upstairs not saying anything else. I honestly forgot the conversation even happened, and 2 days ago I brought home steak again. My daughter didn't say anything, but it's now clear she was planning something. The very next day, which was yesterday, she stormed into the restaurant with a huge sign demanding to shut down this steakhouse for animal cruelty. When the manager tried to tell her to leave, she started recording the entire thing and called out specifically for me, telling me she is ashamed of me for supporting the unaliving of animals. She stayed in the restaurant for about 20 minutes, screaming and yelling about animal cruelty and how veganism is the way forward, distracting the customers, which led to a few of them leaving. I was reprimanded heavily in the office after this and was told if another incident like that happens I will be fired. I was so embarrassed, even ashamed of my own daughter, but mostly angry. I came home and got into a huge argument with her about it, calling her disrespectful and entitled and that she could have gotten me fired. She retorted back saying that maybe I should get fired from that slaughterhouse. I told her that the slaughterhouse is what puts food on the table for her. We ended up getting nowhere with the conversation, but when dinner came around it happened to be family vegan night. My daughter came down excited for the food, not paying any attention to our interaction earlier and acting like nothing was wrong. She was very surprised to see an 8-ounce steak on all of our plates, including hers. So upon coming downstairs and seeing a juicy and mouthwatering 8-ounce ribeye steak cooked to medium rare perfection, my daughter asked me what this was. My wife and I responded that this was just a little replacement for family vegan dinner night, as we all thought it would be best for her to learn that respect goes both ways. We told her that she will show us the respect we have shown her and respect our choices. She did not take this lightly however, and when I held the plate with the steak out for her, she literally backed away and gasped like she had just seen a ghost. I told her to come around and eat the steak. I told her that this steak was good and the cow did not die in vain. She ended up screaming how we are awful human beings and whipped her phone out to take pictures of my wife and I eating steak, acting like we are some criminals. My wife and I did not hesitate to pose for the camera however, which made my daughter very angry as she asked us how we could eat our own. My wife then made a joke, saying, "Are you calling me a cow? Don't be fatphobic, darling." I chimed in with, "The only thing that's fat here is this steak. Look at how thick it is, it's too good, you should really try some." My wife and I's sarcastic ways were getting on our daughter's nerves way too much by this point, and seeing us make fun of the cause she was fighting for made her go berserk. She broke down and started crying, and my wife was going to go and comfort her, but before she could even stand up from her seat, our daughter went into a rage and opened our fridge. She put on some gloves and started removing every single meat and dairy product and started throwing it in the bin. When she started doing this, my wife grabbed her hands and got her to stop, and at this action our daughter tried to literally bite my wife's hand. I felt perplexed watching this, because I wanted to physically restrain her but I could not bring myself to use any sort of force against my daughter. I opted to go over and instead just hug my daughter as tight as I could, making it so she couldn't do much except hug me back. She tried to claw at me but I wouldn't let go, and she ended up calming down after a few minutes. When I pulled back I could see the tears rolling down her cheeks and I asked her to talk privately for a moment. She said yes and we went for a walk. During this walk we discussed everything about her veganism and why she acts so extreme. She ended up telling me that she just really wants a vegan family, and that her best friend is also vegan, and she ended up managing to convert her entire family into veganism so she wanted to do the same. She just had no idea how to go about it. I told her that I was sorry but there was no way we were going to do that and she was going to have to accept it. She ended up saying she was not okay with this and that she is passionate about veganism. She can't see herself living with people who are not vegan and who endorse animal cruelty. The thing is, no amount of trying to convince her that my wife and I do not support animal cruelty got through to her, and a few days later after seeing my wife and I eating a steak yet again, she asked to move out despite only being 16. So my wife and I are sending her to my grandparents. She is under the impression that they are vegan as she has not seen them in a few years and I told her that they are. Little does she know that they live on a farm.